So I want to talk about a specific behavior that many of us have a pretty big problem with these days. And you might even be caught in the midst of it right now as you're on YouTube or whatever you're watching this on. And that is using social media too much. So scrolling through Instagram unconsciously, doing it in a way that feels a little bit of out of control, sort of vegging out, posting on Facebook, tweeting constantly, just really not being able to put the phone down when we want to connect with somebody that we're having dinner with or spending time with or focusing on work or whatever we really want to be doing. Now, I don't want to talk about social media with the metaphor of addiction, which is tempting, and a lot of people talk about it that way. I want to talk about it in the sense of it being work. And there's some truth to that. Back in the 1970s, the communication researcher Dallas Smith theorized that television doesn't sell entertainment to audiences. It actually sells audiences to advertisers. And so just by watching television, we quote unquote work in a sort of a theoretical sense. As in, we do something that counts as work in a capitalist society. So we produce something to be sold, in this case, our attention. And that's Silicon Valley's entire business model, capturing our attention and our information about our habits of where we put our attention when we're on their apps, and turning it into a commodity that then they sell to Pepsi, Walmart, whatever. And I was looking at some of the numbers, and 98% of Facebook's $16.9 billion in revenue during the last 3 months of last year, so just in 3 months they made that much money, came from advertising. And a whopping 93% of that came from advertising on their mobile app. So a vast majority of the money that Facebook is making, at least, is coming from the phone, this phone right here that I'm recording this video on. So no wonder we're glued to our phones. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg apparently spends $400 for his gray t-shirts. So for one of his special Italian gray t-shirts, he pays $400. So in order for him to continue to get those t-shirts, he needs us to keep looking at this phone and looking at Facebook, and he needs our attention. And you can say the same thing for all the owners of all the social media companies, as well as all the investors in those companies now that they're publicly traded. So we have these massive corporations that are vying for our attention all the time. So that's all to say that social media and using it in a mindful way is almost impossible. Using it in a way that doesn't feel out of control is almost impossible. A multi-billion-dollar industry, as I said, is investing in trying to distract us in increasingly seductive ways. And no wonder we feel we feel scattered, we feel restless, we feel stressed out. Now, I think that we should try to use it in a mindful way. We'll feel less scattered, less restless, less stressed if we're not on our phones all the time. And you also have a little bit more time for life off of the screen, for the stuff that really matters, that really fulfills you, your friends, new experiences, relationships, music, community, politics, all the stuff that can't be captured on a screen. So what does a mindful relationship actually look like? A mindful relationship to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. What does it look like? Now, I've done some research on this and read some articles over the years, and I hear a lot of advice about trying to use social media in an intentional way, maybe deleting the apps, just getting off of it altogether, unfollowing toxic people, family members that post about Trump or post about post racist things, etc. Looking up sources of the news that we consume. And it's not about those things. Those things can be useful tactics, but we can set all the defenses we want, and it's still going to be hard to avoid the temptation. And so much of social life at this point is online. A lot of events, a lot of parties, a lot of shows are listed on Facebook, and we can't get any information about them elsewhere. I've met so many people on Twitter that now I work with in politics, So it's really hard to avoid this, and it's going to probably get even harder over our lives. So we need something a little bit more fundamental that we can intervene with whenever and whatever we're doing. And luckily, that thing is meditation or mindfulness that meditation creates. We're practicing in meditation, we're practicing having a mindful relationship to anything we do, and it could be social media. So you can think of a mindful social media or mindful use of social media as 4 steps. One is notice when you're glued to the screen, accept that you've lost control, that you can't control your mind, and let go of what you're thinking. So let go of the story you're telling yourself as you're watching that cat video or reading whatever latest tweet that Trump put out, and then open back up to whatever you're feeling in the present moment. So open it back up to the sensations in your body, to the feeling of your breath, to the sounds around you, to what the person that you're talking to is saying, et cetera, et cetera. And these happen to be the 4 muscles, quote unquote muscles, you could say, in the mind that are strengthened by regular meditation practice. So when a story about the past or the future sweeps your mind away as you're meditating, the practice is literally those 4 steps. Notice that you've been swept away, accept that you've been swept away, let go of the thoughts, and then come back. Come back to the breath, body, sounds, whatever it is that you're trying to focus on in your meditation. And then you just do that over and over and over again, and you strengthen those muscles in your mind. So it's almost as if by strengthening these muscles, you'll be able to then pull yourself away from social media a little bit easier. It's not like you're going to give it up completely, and you probably don't want to do that. Social media plays a very important role in our lives, as I said. It's a very useful tool, but you just want a little bit more of a conscious and intentional relationship to using it. And strengthening these muscles is going to allow you to put down that phone when you actually want to engage with somebody across from you, at dinner, or if you're hanging out with your kid, spending time with your kid, you can actually put the phone down and really, really play with your kid. So the last thing I'll say is just remember it's not your fault that you're often distracted, that you're picking up the phone and looking at Facebook all the time or scrolling Instagram. Not only is our brain built in a way that we escape the present moment pretty much all the time and are thinking about the future or the past, but our attention is a commodity in capitalism. Someone is selling it to someone else pretty much all the time, and they're constantly fighting for more of it, just like I am right now, trying to get you to watch this. And even, they're doing it even while we're on the clock for someone else, for the job that we work at. People are constantly vying for our attention, and it's worth something to someone else. So don't be so hard on yourself if you have, what you would consider an addiction to social media, or you just can't put it down. I would say start a daily meditation practice, whether it's 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. You can go on my website and get tips on how to do that. You can just Google and find ways to do that, or you can shoot me an email, jeremy@jeremymohler.blog, and I'll give you some information, some other teachers that can help you, some books that can help you, and develop those muscles in your mind. And then you'll be able to put down that phone just a little bit easier when you want to. All right, thanks for watching.